Hello, and welcome to my new video, Passing a Job Interview. This video is primarily made for teachers who work with high school students, but keep in mind that you can use it with college students or middle school students or even elementary school students, even though many of them will not be applying for jobs any sooner. This lesson is part of my psychology course, Unit 13, in which we discuss industrial organizational psychology. Many people these days can argue and say that a job interview is nothing else but a big psychological game, and that many people who actually leave a good impression or a psychological effect on the interviewers are more likely to be hired. So I made this lesson specifically for my psychology students, high school psychology students, to teach them how to pass a job interview by using psychological methods in order to impress those who conduct the job interview. Okay, so if you are a high school teacher, keep in mind that your primary job is to teach subject matter or your subject area, like math, science, or social studies. But also keep in mind that most of your students are one step away from becoming adults and entering adulthood. So once they become adults, they will definitely need to apply for jobs in order to become productive members of the society. So let's take a look at this lesson. First of all, what is a job interview? A job interview is a screening process in which business companies or organizations are meeting with those they intend to hire to learn who they are and how they will contribute to their company or organization. It means that you have qualities and knowledge to do the job if you get a phone call for the job interview. Now, keep in mind that not all applicants will receive job interview. Now, only small percentage of job applicants these days will get the job interview. So if you are selected for the job interview, keep in mind, your chances of getting hired are more than 80% because the company is calling you to meet you because they are interested in hiring you. Okay. However, when it comes to job interviews and the job search in general, keep in mind that there are certain misconceptions that may not necessarily be true. And we will discuss those misconceptions in this presentation. So here is one. Good grades and diploma will get you hired. It's not what you know, it's who you know. Good and impressive resume is needed. They hire because they need new employees. Submit application and wait for the phone call. Dress nicely when you go to the interview. Job interview is just an interview, and they need someone who will work hard. Well, it's all true, but not necessarily. So let's take a look at these misconceptions first. You probably have heard about this misconception many times, that good grades and diploma alone are crucial. Well, that's true. They are crucial, but you also need skills, motivation, and experience to do a certain job. For example, if you are an engineer, you will have to be able to sell your product, not just simply to design the product. You will also be able to expand the business, and therefore, they will need good customer service skills. So if you would like to be an engineer, expect to do way more than just design the product. Also, keep in mind that as an engineer, you may also be promoted to managerial position. So your job will also be to work with the employees and to make sure that they do what they're supposed to do and make sure that you can motivate them to do their job. If you're a teacher, for example, your job alone will not be just to teach, but keep in mind that you will have to meet with parents, that you will have to meet with students, and that you will have to meet with people who work in administration, that you will also have to be familiar with laws, regulations that shape educational system, and much more. So keep in mind that good grades and diploma are crucial. They are needed, but they are not the only thing that your employer will be looking for. So don't just simply rely on good grades and diploma to get the job. You probably have heard this saying many times. It's not what you know, it's who you know. Usually this statement comes from people who don't get hired. Now, keep in mind that knowing people who make decisions and having strong references is very important. However, it is not all about references. It is also about qualifications and knowledge. So revisit the previous statement. good grades and diploma. Yes, good grades and diploma are needed, as well as good reference. But knowing people and getting a good reference alone will not be enough. Only because you know people who sit on the board of a hospital, for example, that doesn't mean that you will be hired if you do not have a medical degree. So keep that in mind. Now, usually these days when you apply for a job, you will be asked to submit your resume or CV. Now, good and impressive resume that includes your biography, qualifications, and skills is necessary. However, make it look attractive. According to some studies, attractive resumes that easily catch someone's eye are more likely to be reviewed by the employers. Usually, people who work at human resource departments receive many resumes and many job applications. So imagine that you are a human resource employee who needs to select 2 or 3 applicants out of maybe, let's say, 50 job applications. Then, of course, you will not have time to read every single resume. But most likely, attractive resume will have psychological effect on people. And your resume is more likely to catch someone's eye, and then you are more likely to get a phone call for the job interview. Take a look at this resume right here, for example. It's brief, it's detailed, and it's very attractive, and it looks very professional. If you don't know how to create this type of resume, then you may find a company that will do this job for you. Or you can even download free templates online that will help you create this type of resume. So keep in mind, good and impressive resume is important, but also make sure that it's attractive so that that will single you out. Okay. They hire because they need new employees. That's true. When companies hire, they hire because they need new employees. However, keep in mind that they also hire because they need new colleagues. So employers will also look into your personality. If you have a friendly personality, if you are a fun person to work with, then you are more likely to be hired. They are more likely to hire someone who is friendly and who will bring positive atmosphere to work. So yes, when you go to job interview, make sure that you are a friendly person, make sure that you bring positive atmosphere. Don't just sit there and tell them how you are a good employee and how you will do amazing job. So yes, keep in mind, they will also be looking for a future colleague. Submitting your resume is the first step, but make sure that you call the company and to check the status of your resume and whether or not they will invite you for an interview. Inquiring about your resume status will give impression that you are interested in the job. Remember, you will not be the only one who applies for the job. You will need to compete with other candidates. So do anything that is necessary to single yourself out, to make yourself special, to make yourself as someone who will be interesting person and someone who will catch someone's eye. So remember, they are looking for people who are unique and who are special in a positive way. So make sure you act that way. Dress nicely, but dress to impress. Your clothes will have big impact on those who conduct the interview. So wear clothes that is appropriate for that type of work. Do not overdress, but then do not dress poorly. Dress in the same way as people who work at that company. For example, if you're a teacher or if you are being interviewed to be a teacher, then most likely you will be dressed as this guy in a green shirt, or maybe as this lady here. Of course, if you are being interviewed to be a lawyer, then probably you will be dressed as this guy here. However, if you are getting a job or at a local factory, then you should probably just dress casual and wear maybe jeans and some nice sweater, or maybe nice jacket, nice sneakers or shoes, and that will be that. So do not overdress, but do not dress poorly. Dress in the same way as the employers of that company do. Job interview is indeed an interview, but it is not interrogation process. Keep that in mind. They will ask you questions and you will need to ask them questions as well. However, do not take over the interview. Questions that relate to salaries, benefits, and vacation days should be less to ask. And do not ask obvious questions during the interview, such as, what does your company do? Okay, because that will definitely leave a bad impression. So during the job interview, remember, it's not just simply an interview, but it's also a meeting. So they will ask you questions, but make sure that you also ask some questions regarding the job, regarding your responsibility, regarding your duties, and something like that. Because that will leave a good impression on those who conduct the job interview, because it will show them that you are seriously interested in that job. So don't just sit there and be like, hey, I'm ready to be interviewed and I'm ready to answer your questions. So make sure that you ask questions as well. But again, do not take over the interview, okay? And do not ask questions that will just simply make you smart and make them not so smart, okay? Because that's a very bad habit. Yes, everyone needs employees who will work hard and be good employees, but everyone needs employees who will help company grow. So make sure you have a plan of how you, as the new employee, can improve the things in the company. If it's for profit organization, then explain how you can increase profits and expand the business. I like to tell my students that if they would like to succeed and get really good jobs, then they should find the company of their interest, conduct detailed research about the company, and find out what they do, how they make money or how they make profits. Then sit down, make a plan of how you can improve their business, go to them, request to speak with a general manager or with the board members, present the plan, and make sure that you tell them that you are the person who can make that plan possible, and so that you can make him make more money and expand the business. In that way, trust me, you will be hired. Resume should include your professional email address that is not too long and usually consists of your first and the last name. So make your email address look something like this, like these two here. Yeah, they are good ones. They look professional, they're short, and that's something that's nice to have on your resume. However, avoid email addresses that are too long or immature, like biker man or sexy man or Italian stallion. Trust me, those are email addresses that I've seen in my life. Now, one unprofessional email address can definitely prevent you from getting a job interview. So make sure that you look professional. Keep that in mind. Also, that applies to your voicemail. Your voicemail should be professional, recorded with a professional voice. So say something like this. Hi, you have reached, then state your first and the last name. I am currently unavailable. Please leave your name and the phone number, and I will return your call as soon as possible. Thank you, and have a great day. Avoid embarrassing or unprofessional voicemails, like this one here. Don't say like, hey, gone fishing, sorry. Or, hi, this is Brian, the master of the disaster. Leave a message after the beep. Or, hi, we are partying now. Leave a message and I will call you. If I don't forget, ha, ha, ha. Yes, unprofessional voice messages or voicemails can definitely disappoint those who call you for the job interview. So make sure you make sure that your voicemail is professional. Another thing to avoid during the job interview: do not talk about politics, religion, or your political affiliations, as well as your religious beliefs. We have freedom of religion. We also have freedom of speech and free assembly. That is a great thing. But this is not something you should be discussing during the job interview. Also, the interviewers should not ask you these type of questions. They should not ask you about your political affiliations, about your religious beliefs, because that's not ethical. So yes, when it comes to politics and religion, keep in mind that that's your private thing. And that's great. You have a right to the privacy. But don't bring it up during the job interview or in your cover letter or even your resume. So no politics or religion during the job interview or job searching process. Also, this is something very important these days. Your social media should be private. Make your Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or Twitter accounts restricted if they include photos or information about your personal life. Postings that are inspirational and that make you look professional and caring person should be left unrestricted. Because these days, yes, many companies will actually Google your name and search for your social media profiles. Because these days, someone might argue and say that your social media profile tells people who you are. So watch out for your social media accounts and watch out what you post on your social media. Okay. Now, what should you do on the day of the interview? On the day of the interview, this is very important to keep in mind. Do not arrive late, but also do not arrive too early. Arrive about 5 to 3 minutes before the interview. Okay. If you arrive way too early, then interviewers may not like it. That may make him feel uncomfortable. So again, arrive right on the time as scheduled, maybe 5 to 3 minutes before, but don't arrive like 15 or 20 minutes earlier. Okay, so keep that in mind. When they call you in, relax and do not act mechanical or like a robot. This is just a business professional meeting, one of many meetings that you will have in life. So greet the interviewers properly with a smile and introduce yourself. Shake hands with the committee members if the committee consists of about 3 to 4 people. If it's more, then you may greet them as a group. But again, relax and remember, they're looking for someone to hire and they called you for this interview. So that means that they are interested in you. If the job interview is conducted over the phone or video conferencing, then make sure that you are in a quiet place, that the sound quality is good, the internet connection is good. Lock the doors and do not let anyone in, and smile and have a friendly tone. Okay, so do not be interviewed or don't conduct a job interview if you are in the area with a poor internet signal or if you don't have proper equipment. Yes, that can be very distracting, especially if the interviewers cannot hear you or cannot understand you or cannot see you. So make sure that that happens. Now, this is something else that I would recommend, and this usually has a big psychological effect on those who conduct a job interview. You may take notes during the job interview about some important facts, such as expectations, duties, and so on. Make sure that you use fancy-looking pen when you are taking notes, when you take notes, just like this one here, unless you are using an electronic tablet. But the thing is, if you take notes during the job interview, that will show them that you are serious about that job and that you look very professional. Now, keep in mind that during the job interview, you should turn your cell phone off. If it rings or beeps during the interview, apologize and then turn it off or mute it. Do not answer the call during the interview. Do not be that guy on the picture. That's a very, very bad impression, very negative psychological effect on those who conduct a job interview. Because with this act will tell them that, hey, there is something more important than your job. Okay, so yes, reserve this time for your job interview only. If you are expecting a phone call that's more important than job interview, then maybe you should consider canceling this job interview and rescheduling it for some other time. When you speak with the interviewers, make sure that you maintain eye contact while you speak. Do not look through the window and do not get distracted by other stimulus. Give top priority to the job interview. So focus on the people who are conducting job interview. Now, during the job interview, most likely you will be asked many, many questions. Okay. Now, regardless of your profession and regardless of the job, you'll probably notice that interviewers tend to ask more or less the same questions or the questions that have the same aim or objective. So how do you answer these questions? Okay. Usually this is the first question on the job interview. On the job interview, there are questions that actually relate to your biography. Like, tell us something about yourself. Now, briefly explain who you are, where you were born, where you went to school, where you worked, what you like to do, why you would like to work for this company. Do not talk about something that might poorly affect the interview. For instance, don't tell them how you like to party or how you are not morning person, or how every morning you must have your coffee and cigarette. Leave it for yourself. So briefly provide them with your biography and about your strength. So make sure that they understand that you are a fun person to work with and that you are a person who's knowledgeable. What are your strengths? Yes, during the job interview, you will have to explain the interviewers that you have certain strengths, that you are the right person for that particular job. So answer these questions specifically. Do not be general and do not say that you are creative, hardworking, or loyal person. Hey, we already know that. Everyone will tell them that they are creative, hardworking, and something like that. But instead, say something that will, how about this? Present a strength that will directly relate to that particular job. For example, you can say something like that. I'm a very good at multitasking. I know that multitasking is not recommended, but today, with busy working environments, we need to multitask. I have learned to successfully work on 2 or more assignments simultaneously, and that is my strength. So that would be a good answer. So that definitely tells us something about you. And you just avoided general information that more or less everyone will say during the interview, like, hey, I'm a hard worker and I'm creative. Okay, we understand, but explain how creative you are. What makes you creative? Okay, so that's what you should say when you're talking about your strengths. However, these questions may also emerge during the job interview, and I don't like it very much. What are your weaknesses? Or they might tell you, hey, tell us something you don't like. Be careful how you answer these questions. Do not say something that will make you look bad. What you have to do is this. Write it down. Turn your weakness into your strength. So better yet, find a strength and explain strength as a weakness. So you can say something like this. I think that sometimes I have so many good ideas, but I do not have time or resources to put them in practice. So that might be something you can say to answer this question. Okay, now, where do you see yourself in 5 years from now? Some questions will refer to your future. So where do you see yourself in 5 years from now on? Answer this carefully. Provide the answer that only relates to your job and the job performance. So if you're applying to be a teacher at a local school, then you can say something like this. Hopefully, as the tenured teacher at your school district, that would be something I would like to happen. Or if you're applying to be a salesman, then you can say something like this. Hopefully, as the top salesman at this company. Oh, that would be great. So now you are answering with statements that directly relate to your future job performance. What happens at the end of the interview? Okay, at the end of the interview, ask the following question. When will we know your final decision? Or when will I know your final decision? I would like to mark it on my calendar so that I can start preparing materials and the plans for the job. So at the end of the interview, when the interviewers ask you like, hey, do you have any questions for us? Make sure you ask this question. In this way, you are acting like you are already hired, that you already have the plan. So this will have big psychological impact on the interviewers. So write it down. When will I know your final decision? Because I would like to mark it on my calendar so that I can start preparing materials and the plans for the job. So that would show them that you are really, really serious about that job position. However, this is what I tell my students. I always tell my students to be nice, productive, law-abiding citizens. However, unfortunately, some people do make mistakes. So if you know that there is something that can jeopardize your job, make sure that you let the interviewers know about it at the end of the interview. So if you were fired, okay, for doing something really bad, or if you have a crime records, unfortunately, people do get crime records or misdemeanors, or something that may get you fired. If you know that that's something that might get you fired if they find out, then make sure that you tell them about it. But tell them about it at the very end of the interview. And you may start like this. I have something to let you know. I would like to be honest with you. And then explain what the problem is. I remember when my brother did interview with one gentleman, and the gentleman told him, he said, listen, I'll be honest with you. I do not have good credit history because back in 2008, both me and my wife lost our jobs. We worked for one company, for the same company that filed for bankruptcy. So we were not able to keep up with our payments. So we went into default. So unfortunately, that brought me bad credit history. So if something like that is on your record, then do not be afraid to let the people know. Because this guy knew that the job that he applied for requires good credit history. And my brother, who conducted the job interview, was very happy about him. He said, well, this gentleman was very, very honest. That's what I like about him. And guess what? He did get the phone call for the job interview, and he did get job offer. Okay, I would like to pause here. So these are some of the methods that you can employ during the job searching process, or especially during the job interviews. Because keep in mind, job interviews are also a big psychological game, okay? I remember my days when I was in my early 20s, and I remember when I would go for a certain job interview, I was very happy. I mean, I was very confident that I will get the job because I had good grades, I had a good experience. But then I found out later that someone else got hired, and that someone was less qualified than I was. Well, I didn't know what was going on, but later over the years, I would actually learn that job interview is also a place where you have to leave good psychological impression on those who conduct the interview. I hope this helped. So thank you very much, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel for more videos like this. And if you subscribe to my YouTube channel, I promise you that you will not receive any email notifications and that you will not be bothered by any inappropriate messages. So thank you very much, and you have a good day.